Roll call.
President Byrne.
Here.
Trustee Schultz.
Here.
Trustee Marquardt.
Here.
Trustee Cook.
Here.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Here.
Trustee Takaoka. Trustee Hebda.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present. The meeting's open. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Any citizens wish to address the board tonight, this is the time. Yeah, just state your name, even though I know who you are. You gotta come up here, Bill.
This works?
I hope.
Bill Pagatti, owner of the Forge property in Vernon Hills and also the Del Rey Restaurant. Thank you very much for listening. Forge property is currently for sale, and it's been for sale. And it's kind of embarrassing because they own the property and it looks like heck from the outside, even though we do little bits here and there. But it's been killing us as far as dollars out because there's no rental coming in. And we've had a number of people that have tried to purchase the property and had difficulty getting whatever they wanted to go through. And so I just wanted to put a face to the property. I got the thing geez, it is that long ago, 1992, and it was Mundelein, rural Mundelein. And I brought it in, I had Ms. Giacaris ask me to do it, I said I would do it. Had a great run with it. I was very proud of what we did. When we got there, the property was really kind of a blight. The people that were there were going to prison. It was not a good thing for the city.
In Candelas.
Yes. And so we fixed it. We had a real good run. And then after doing it for 20-some years, I said, I've got my little family restaurant in Highwood that we've had for 95. I said, good place to retire. I don't want to do it anymore. So I gave it to my general manager, and he didn't do well with it. So it's been on sale. It cost me a ton of money to keep it, and I'm just looking for some help as to what you guys would like to do with it, because I think a lot of folks are thinking that it should be contingent with there's about 60 acres around it. It's in the inside of an L of the property. There's 50-some acres behind and 5 next to it. I just don't want to bang my head against the wall, and I don't want to see the thing looking like that, and I don't want to see either the city or myself get hurt on this thing. So I'm just looking for some ideas as to what you'd like me to do with it, because I was always under the impression for the last 15, 18, 20 years when I've talked to various people in the city that they wanted to connect it with the property that comes off of 45. That's all residential of some sort or another. Now, the last couple of projects they put there were for basically senior townhomes, upscale. And if that's not what you want to do, just tell me. But I really can't afford to hold it forever because it costs me over $100,000 a year out of my life savings.
Well, do you got somebody who's got an interest?
We've had a lot of people who had interest.
Yeah, but I mean somebody that's non-residential.
No, and probably the reason for that is big box stores are going. If you go through the nice, beautiful commercial part, there's a lot of vacancies. They're just not doing it. You're seeing shopping centers close up and stuff. And Vernon Hills is vibrant still, but there's not a lot of people looking for stores. We've had people that want a part of it, the front part of it, the back part of it, but that doesn't help me because I want to be gone. I want to be loving you guys, but I want to be gone. So if somebody could give me some direction as to what you would like me to do with the property, I'd be glad that we've had people want to put a dog park.
It reverted back to, what was it, B1 or is it BP? B1? B1, so, you got any, who has approached you? I mean, about, it's non-residential.
The only thing we've had approaching us were a person who wants to put a dog veterinarian system in there,
Yeah.
and a guy who wants to put a small school, but they don't want the whole property. They want a little piece here, a little piece there, and it's not going to work.
It's only 5 acres, so how much do they want? I mean,
want an acre and a quarter. The other one wanted an acre.
Yeah.
One in the back.
And we had very little else looking for it. So I'd be happy to do whatever I can, but
Well, you know, the problem with the residential is the same as far as the connectivity to somewhere in the business park, and that's the issue.
Well, I guess the question is, what do you want to do with because what do you want to do with the rest of the property that's there that's not mine?
Well, who knows? You know, the Darlings, God bless them, Mrs. is dead. And then the two kids, who knows what they want to do, you know? They own it. I know there's been people trying to reach out to them, you know, and somebody's allegedly has the first right of refusal, you know, that owns the business park.
Yes. And
Well,
they have vacancies on their property, if it's the same person we're talking about. But
Yeah, you might wanna-
regardless, what do you want me to do if
What do you
if
want
you don't
us-
want residential there, what do you want? Because it's nobody else asking.
Bill, what about, you know, having a sit-down with Van Vlissingen, you know, /
We've chatted with them, but they're not really interested in doing anything at the present time because there's no pressure on them. They've got spaces to fill.
Right, okay.
Possibly too, because that's one of the things is coming off to Milwaukee, eventually because it's not our road, it's state road, and it's gonna be a right in and right out. I think eventually down the road, if I am correct, is.
Well, you know, the other side of it is that, I don't know what to tell you tonight, Bill, but, you know, we can talk afterwards, you know, tomorrow or something.
I can
but-
give you a couple of suggestions, because I know I'm the one that probably does not want to see townhomes there and was against what was proposed when Jacobson came in and proposed townhomes, because it's just too dense. I've asked that repeatedly you go back to Lifetime and see if they can expand their facility and possibly put in either,
We've
just let
done
me
that.
finish, but keep trying to try and either put in tennis courts, pickleball courts, some kind of indoor arena for kids to either participate or through the schools. That would be ideal. The other issue that I'd love to see if we can get the other property, then let's build affordable senior residential, because these people cannot afford to go in there and pay these county taxes and spend $400,000 on a townhome. And that's the frustration right now, is we don't have people are leaving our community because they can't afford to stay here. So I would suggest that, or if you still want to look at something, then look at some kind of banquet facility. We don't have that here, and that's always gone by the wayside, and we've talked about that. So those are just some thoughts, but you being the owner have to go out and pursue that. I mean,
We've spent 3-4 years now pursuing it. We've talked to a bunch of folks as to doing all those things. The last group that wanted to come in had senior housing. It was senior condominiums or whatever the
But they're
group
not
was.
affordable. You're talking about how could someone afford that? Unfortunately, that's the problem. So that's a real issue, and I'm sorry that you have that property, you know. That's what you've got to deal with.
Well,
And I know you're spending a
what-
tremendous
what-
amount of money.
What, in your
so-
opinion, is affordable? I mean, it's costing me $130,000 a year. It's killing me,
Then why did you
frankly.
buy it in the first place? You knew it was going to cost, that was profitable at that time. What was your vision for it down the road?
My vision for it down the road was not to see it as a vacant piece. It was to sell it or to keep it for a long time and do a great job, which is what we did with it. We did.
Why don't you go
we
back
did.
and do that?
We did nothing to the city of Vernon Hills, but do good for the city of Vernon Hills. We gave good sales tax, paid our property taxes on time. We gave a great product, affordable. It was a private club for the everyman, a couple $100 a year to join.
And what happened? Why did it go by the wayside?
Because unfortunately, I gave it to my general manager who couldn't do it.
Okay.
And it cost me a lot of money to do that too. But the money is not the issue. The issue is survival. And if you want senior housing there, what's the dollar amount that you want to have in there? I mean, if that's it, because the last two groups were talking about facilities that were made for people who were getting out of a home, wanting to go something smaller.
But you don't have enough land there to push what you want to get out of it. Everyone's pushing in so much housing, and it's so congested, you know, that's a problem for me, that personally. And
So-
I may be the
So
only
what
one speaking from
what are you
this board.
thinking of doing with the middle 50 acres if it's so congested? So you don't want any residential in that whole
Have you
acreage?
seen how many townhomes we have? I mean, I can list for you 14 to 15 townhomes complexes that are all over. I don't know that we need that anymore.
Well, just tell me what you need so I can do something. I mean, that's.
Why,
the problem.
here, why don't we do this? You and I, and we'll have,
I know, but
the chief and, not this chief, but Joe and I and Mark Fleischauer next week, we'll have a sit-down.
I
We'll
don't want
just
to-
we'll go
I just-
through the litany for you.
I just want to do something that's
Yeah.
correct for the city and for me too. But I can't survive at this rate. It's taking all my life savings and it's a killer. I just want you to see, there's a face here with that property. It's not some corporation in the middle of nowhere. It's me.
No, we know that.
And I'm still working 90 hours a week doing what I do. So
You got the opera coming?
I got the upper coming at the end of the year and I've got regular stuff doing. I'm the old place. The oldest restaurant in the city of Chicago, the Berghoff. And I still love it. And I love doing, if I was 55 years old or 60, I'd go in and open the Forge again. And
It's
it would be
Del
great.
Rio's in Highwood,
Yeah,
Highwood.
yeah, it is.
for those watching at home. It's an advertisement for you.
Well, it's a good place. Thank you very much.
All right.
Anyway, thank you for your
Here,
time, guys.
We'll talk. You know what? I'll have Joe reach out to you. We'll set up a meeting.
I appreciate it. Thanks
Okay.
again.
and if Joe has a
Thank you,
meeting,
Bill.
I'd be happy to come to that meeting too.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Any other citizens wish to address the board? No? Okay. All right, the next item is Arbor Day proclamation. Okay, and that's the 22nd, right?
May 12th.
Well, Saturday's Earth Day.
Saturdays
Oh, okay. And the proclamation, I saw it. Oh, there. It has large print, which is always welcomed. All right. National Arbor Day Proclamation, Village of Vernon Hills, a Tree City, USA community. Having recognized the economic, aesthetic, and environmental value a thriving community forest brings to its residents and visitors, Village of Vernon Hills has and continues to be committed to reforestation of land within its corporate boundaries and to be prudent management of its existing forest resources. Village of Vernon Hills shall continue to enhance its reforestation and forestry management policies and practices and shall continue to dedicate financial resources over and above Tree City USA requirements. Tree City USA flag shall be flown at the Public Works Building on Arbor Day, April 27, 2018, to honor those residents and volunteers who have participated in the program of activities sponsored by the village. Be it therefore resolved, I, Roger Byrne, Village President, do hereby proclaim the Village of Vernon Hills shall officially observe Arbor Day on Saturday, May 12, 2018, and encourage citizens to participate in appropriate activities and to take advantage of benefits of the parks and other natural areas in our community. Okay. Next, any comments on that? No. The next one, item is,
Dave,
no,
Mayor, if I could, as far as the Arbor Day celebrations, we're working with Boy Scout Troop 273. We'll be at the Arbor Theater on May 12th, and we'll be planting some smaller trees and bushes and participating in Arbor Day. So I just wanted to share.
and it'll hit the social media and all the signs in town, and I
Absolutely.
assume.
Do we have a time?
It's at 9 in the morning. Thank you.
Okay. Is that you, Joe? Somebody?
No, mine's off.
No? All right, good. Okay. Next item is Park District request for fee waiver for Century Park South Expansion Project. We have Jeff here. You want to pitch us on anything, Jeff? Because I can't imagine we're not going to waive the fees, but,
Well, I gave you all, Jeff Hoosier, Executive Director of the Vernon Hills Park District. You have an 11 by 17 at your dais. Hopefully you get a chance to see the drawings in advance, but I've got a rendering here for you. This is the former OPA property that we acquired in cooperation with the village, and we're planning to commence with the renovation of this site after RibFest this year, so it'll be late August, early September. We've had a number of meetings with Dave and his team in terms of just conversation about electric and just proper flow with the summer festivals between Summer Celebration and the RibFest, and how that, you know, those particular entities would cooperate with one another. So if you just, I don't know if this is working here, this mic, I don't know, this,
Was it a laser?
it's a laser, but let me just walk you through it.
Good point.
Everybody see this from where you're at there? Should we move it this way a little bit? Does that help? Okay. So, camera's okay? Well, deal with it, Mike. So this is the parking lot just adjacent to Rust-Oleum. There's 36 stalls here. The agreement we had with the village was a minimum of 35, so we've kept that in. And then just off of there, there's some pretty heavily landscaped area here, and this is a male-female restroom, outdoor restroom. That was, again, something that through our earlier conversations with the village that, you know, they wanted us to secure some kind of public restroom on the site. So it'll have 2 stalls for the female restroom, and it'll have a stall and a urinal for the men's. We're going to try our best to provide, just from an architectural perspective, to match the facade of Rust-Oleum's facility, so we don't have this rustic-looking outdoor restroom kind of hanging out right on Hawthorne Parkway. So we'll have those drawings. Heavily bermed. One of the things we want to make sure with where we moved the stage area that sat on the basketball court, so that basketball court goes away, and we pulled the stage back almost 100 feet further south. So it'll open up a lot more green space for people that are using the grounds or property for Summer Celebration Festival, for obviously RibFest. But this heavy berming in here creates just some light detection. So if we've got an evening event in the smaller park here, we don't want headlights coming in from Lakeview, from Hawthorne Parkway, or even the parking lot to be shining in on the grounds. Even if it's, you know, just an evening wine festival, or whether we do something with the village in cooperation with a future market, whether it's a French market, farmer's market, that kind of thing. We've had conversations with some of your staff about that. A lot of connectivity with the 8-foot paths. A very, I'll just say, a raised and elevated garden area, so as you're coming in on that corner intersection, the signage will be a lot more inviting than just one of our typical redwood signs. So we want it to be, it's our flagship park for the community. We want people that are coming down into that area off of Lakeview or Hawthorne Parkway to know that this is an extension of Century Park. Some of the, I think one of the unique things we did with the stage area is we're using a grasscrete product. And grasscrete is, it's a concrete product, but you can grow grass through it. So rather than having that whole stage area be this big open concrete pad, we wanted to keep the site green and usable for that, because 95% of the time throughout the year, that's what its intended value is, but those 2 weekends a year that we're doing these 2 festivals. So that product can withstand, I mean, it can hold a semi, it can hold a large fire truck, you can run across it. So Dave and I and Dave's team, we wanted to make sure that just the entryway off of Lakeview Parkway, that there's a sizable area, because we have a lot of our own service vehicles coming in, loading in and out of the stage, production teams that come in and out that have the ability then to park their vehicles on that as well. You can see here we moved the path. If you can see in the shadow of your diagram there, the old basketball court, you can kind of see it in the shadow. So what we did is we took this path, and this is something the park board was pretty serious about, just having a connection to
you know, the grounds up here that we have where we kind of have our festival activities, and we'll work again with just power running underneath that path to the stage area. So it creates an environment where now, when you're in Century Park for a festival, there's kind of there's a small section that's hugging the lake, and then there's a larger section that's kind of on the east side of the path that's open. This provides now an opportunity for a large green space on both sides of the path. And so it gives people that are using strollers or just a walkway, it's a straight shot to and from the stage area. There's a lot of work in terms of coming off of this bridge. Right now, it is not ADA in terms of just some of the deficiencies and the decline of that don't meet the requirements of that. So we've extended that out a little bit in terms of its connection. You've got a path off the parking lot. So a lot of good path connectivity. So cyclists, walkers. We've met with Rust-Oleum. We've walked through there. We originally were going to relocate the basketball court to right off the parking lot. They didn't want it. They just didn't see with all the improvements they've done in their facility that they wanted a basketball court.
Where exactly would you put it?
We took it out of the plan, Mayor.
Well, where did you?
It was going to be almost just adjacent to the restrooms. We had a little half court set up there. So they're obliging use of, continued use of their lot for our events, for, the village's event. So we're trying to just be good neighbors in that respect. They inquired about whether the path was going to come back through the back of their property.
It should.
We informed them we wouldn't at this.
It should.
I know, but.
Well, did you talk to Tom Reed?
Yeah, we met with
He
Tom.
said no.
He just said he'd prefer it not to be.
Well,
So-
that doesn't sound like a total no. Wouldn't it be safer for the people's?
There's people that cut through it now. There's
Well, they're
walkers, it's a
running-
shortcut.
But there's no path.
Yeah, but I think with the addition of this nice path, it's keeping people off of the sidewalk. I think that works good. We've got your right-of-way built in here for your future plans along Lakeview, for extra turn lanes. That's all built into the plan as well. Power, we've got additional lights. They're not shown on the drawings, but we've got our light poles so we can get power off of that. So if we're running vendor-related activities, they can plug in, whether it's a craft fair or whatever event that's out there. But we do, from the Park District's end, we do plan on using kind of the smaller 3-acre lot where we can have a stage and just have smaller activities going on. And obviously for Summer Cell, when you got thousands of people out there, by picking up, I think, that extra 100 feet of green space, I think it's going to really, I think it'll be a lot better in terms of just some of your crowd control and being able to get some more depth.
Where's the stage at? Where does it go?
See the cross?
Is
You
this it?
see the darker area here, Mayor?
With the arrow right in the middle of the one square?
Yeah.
Right here, right here.
That's the stage area, right?
Yes,
But is that, so you're gonna move that?
yes,
And then you're gonna grasscrete it?
yes.
Dave, is that good? It is good. I mean, it'll work.
We haven't looked at the specs, but yeah, they'll just have to make sure there's sufficient stone in the grasscrete product, and it handles the loading. Just have to do some math.
And we'll have grass that will grow between these. Well, I know what they look like, but I mean, Jesus, isn't there some big equipment that rolls through there?
That's why we have to figure out what the weight of the trailers, the axles, separating them, and do the loading, and then work with the manufacturer to make sure it's the cross-section's sufficient.
And that will be moved further south?
Yes, it's about 90 feet south of the existing basketball court
Yeah, okay.
stage area.
If you know that whole area, and then it really drops off. So there's a lot of earth that we're going to have to move to make sure that level. But we do plan on having that stage area somewhat elevated. So, but, yeah, I know when we were doing the measurements on that, Dave, I don't remember, but I think it was about 5 feet differentiation between
Yeah.
the old stage and what we're proposing
Is
for the
Dave
new stage.
basically your engineer on this project?
Well, we're working with Gawalt,
With who?
Gawalt Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Gawalt,
All right,
yeah.
okay,
So they're doing most of the background on that, yeah.
okay. Well, I'm sure you'll be coming back on
Well,
this at some point.
yeah, I know we gotta have the site rezoned. So we're working with Joe and his staff on that.
Yeah. Well, then it
and then-
hopefully has to come back
Yeah.
to us.
Jeff,
Okay.
what was your timeline?
Late August to commence. They'll wrap up sometime in the fall, and then you're going to have to go through pretty much of the spring this time next year to get that grass to grow. So I'm confident, though, by the time you get on it for, your July event, or even July 4th, it'll be fine,
Okay,
Okay?
yeah,
So thanks. So we're here again just to
No,
request
it
yeah,
should be
a few
very
waivers
nice.
on it. Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice addition in the community. We really do. Yeah. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the village board, because I think your foresight on this site a couple of years ago to turn it into open space was fantastic.
What's our contribution?
Well, you already did that.
What, how much was it again?
I'll be happy.
Huh?
The price was 2.2 million, of which you paid 1.5, and the Park District paid 750,000. And our responsibility is to develop it.
I just like to hear you say it publicly.
Yeah. And the cost on the proposed development is about 700,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, in the
So,
spirit of
thank you.
intergovernmental
Be
cooperation.
nice.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeff.
okay.
Any other questions I'd be
No,
happy to
no, it
answer?
looks nice. And I'm
Okay.
sure it'll be nice, and the engineers can do their thing.
All right. All right, thank you.
I have a question. I'm just curious, how much space is there for the stage there in comparison to the old stage area?
They mirror one another. So when you look at the current size of that, it was like 50 by, I think, 40. So the stage area is relatively the same. I think it's 35 by 50.
Okay. Is it-
But when you erect a stage, when you like summer celebration, when you put it on there, there's still a lot of room off the back of the old basketball court.
Now you-
So the stages are usually around 30 by 40. This space is like 35 by 50. So from a platform, you could drop it right on that concrete pad. And it won't go over into the grass at all.
Okay. And the trucks are going to be on the east side there, and the stage will be sort of on the west where it's divided? Okay.
And, just like we fully expect, I mean, every year with Century Park, a carnival comes in, or you're going to have, some of your talent that's performing, they're going to pull behind the stage, and they're going to park in the grass. We're just looking at, I know Dave would rather see the whole site grasscrete, so we could park cars, but it's just unaffordable to do that whole site in that way. So we feel like there's enough space in there that we can get several vehicles to park on the side of the stage on that hard
There'll be that
surface.
many more people that can view the acts.
No question. Yeah,
But
no
is-
question.
Is that how they usually like to load, though, from the side of the stage versus behind?
Yeah,
Is that,
yeah.
Either or, they've got that.
thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much.
All right,
Thank you, Jeff.
okay.
Your Honor? We just need a direction from the board as to, we need a formal motion to waive.
Yeah.
Motion to
Waive,
waive the fees.
second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka? Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks.
Okay.
Take care.
Chief Crease, update on Lake County 9/11 Consolidation Initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to report to the board, there's been a little bit of a change since we last communicated with the board. As you know, there's been a multi-year study of potential 911 consolidation throughout Lake County. We have participated in several phases of that study. We got to a point in about February of 2018 where the key stakeholders of that study was asking for a pretty considerable financial contribution to continue in the next phase. Our assessment was that it was too expensive a contribution. Us and our partners would be asked to supply about $80,000 just for the next phase of study, and we weren't quite seeing the vision of that investment. So our recommendation at the time was to fall back, to continue to stay engaged in a conversation. Very recently, so that was our communication to the board last we discussed this. Very recently, we found out that the county had kind of reassessed that contribution level. We had a meeting of our joint emergency telephone systems board, our JETSB board, and it seems like there's a much more affordable path for us to go forward on the next phase of the study. The recommendation of that of our JETS board was to come back to our elected officials individually as communities and secure authorization to spend some money. We're in the process of putting together that ordinance, and I would expect at the next board meeting, I'll have an ordinance for the board to consider to spend our portion of a much lesser amount than was originally asked for.
And, you know, I know we've talked about this before, but out of, I got 20, well, we got population 26,000, but, and how many residential units do we have? Is it just shy of 8,000?
8,500.
8,500. How many of those homes can we contact in an emergency?
On our reverse 911 system,
Well, I'm talking even on the Blackboard Direct.
sure. Now, we can hit all of the landlines,
Right. So what kind of efforts being made to get to, you know, the people on the cell phones? I mean, where does that all stand? Is it all invasion of privacy and all that type of stuff?
No, I wouldn't.
But how do you get, you know,
Yeah.
there's more and more people opting out of hard lines, you know?
Of course.
So
No,
what, you know?
I wouldn't suggest there's been any pushback about invasion of privacy. There is more and more leadership at the state level in recent years, and part of what's driving a lot of these consolidation conversations is that the fewer amount of public safety answering points that there are in the state, the easier it is for the state to push out and standardize some protocols so there can be some advanced technologies. For instance, we don't have a very capable way of receiving 911 text messages, and I would suggest that's probably more important than reverse 911 or Blackboard. The technologies are capable, but there's no similar agreement, or I should say there's no common agreement on the protocols, and the state is helping us with that. So this is a county initiative to look and say, what are the next logical ways to improve and gain efficiencies and really improve emergency services countywide? I can't say we're on the verge of any big breakthrough, but there's some smart conversations going on, and I think it's best as a community and as our partners with the Village of Lincolnshire, the Village of Libertyville, and the Countryside Fire Protection District that we continue to stay engaged. So that would be the scope of our ordinance for the next board meeting.
So if we got the killer tornado coming at 3 o'clock in the morning, we're just going to yell at everybody over the loudspeakers too. I mean, we could blow off all the, obviously, sirens, but, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that I don't know if they're going to get notified.
Sure, you're right that the way we're changing the use of our telephone system is continues to be a challenge. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's a challenge for our technology to keep up with, yes.
Okay. Sirens are all working, right? Chief,
The
Sirens
sirens
are all
are working,
working?
and we have a program to
the new one up?
replace them. The new one's not quite operational yet. It might,
Yes, the one by Rust-Oleum was installed, and then we've budgeted each year moving forward.
Okay, so we got the whole town covered.
the whole town is covered, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Trustee Cook.
But with regards to the cell phones, people can opt in on their own, correct?
Yes, on the
Because-
blackboard, yes.
Right. Because when we do the, I think probably everybody up here gets it, when we do the monthly test on the first Tuesday, get a call on the cell phone, so.
Yeah, well, no,
Yes.
yeah, if you gave,
If-
the village the cell phone, your cell phone
Right.
number.
They have to proactively
Yeah.
sign up.
Right.
Correct.
Well, I guess we'll just overemphasize it in social media again. To sign up until a real solution comes.
And for those that still have landlines, we always recommend the best phone to use in an emergency to call 911 is your landline, because we get immediate indication on our computer of where that call is being generated. Cellular takes a little longer and is not always as accurate.
Well, and cell doesn't always go to you.
That's
'Cause
possible.
my cell, I found this out when I found out that my iWatch, if I turned it off wrong, dialed 911.
Nice.
Yep, serious. I found that out by accident, and it was Mundelein Dispatch that called me back.
Yeah, and the next day you could have pressed 911 and it could hit us.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's, the cellular technology is just different. Now, we do have immediate ways, and the first question an emergency operator asks, a telecommunicator asks, is where is your emergency? It's more important where you are than what is going on, because we want to make sure we get that call to the right center.
Okay,
Thank you.
There is, whenever I get,
excuse me.
Libertyville seems to be the nexus for crank calls from Resorts International. Hi, I'm Deborah, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, you're not, because yesterday you were Louise, and the day before you were somebody else. But it's always a different number. But the point I'm getting to is that it always starts out 687, and it shows Libertyville.
So,
So if we dialed everything that was 367, or what's another common one here is 987, I think, or something like that. I wonder how effective that is.
yeah, I don't know that would be the right strategy. I can tell you all the spoof numbers I get happen to come from Northbrook. So
Yeah.
it's.
And they spoof your own area code,
Of
whatever it
course
is,
they do.
224, 847, whatever
Right,
it is.
yeah,
that's
and your
what they spoof,
prefix,
yeah.
so.
And they will generally spoof not only the area code, they will also spoof your first three
Your
digits.
prefix.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right.
All right, well, that problem still exists. Yeah, we encourage everybody in town to, sign up for the emergency calls on their cell phone. Because eventually, the tornado season will appear. Okay, omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve A through Z?
So made.
Motion is second.
I'd like to have D pulled, please.
D. Okay. Pull D. D is pulled. So is the
The
first
first
and second
agrees.
agree?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion then to approve A through B, and then E through Z. Okay? Roll call.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka? Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart? Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item D is approval and passage of an ordinance number 2018-05, an ordinance adopting home rule food and beverage tax and amending the code of ordinance for the village of Vernon Hills, Illinois, and the actual percentage is 1%. Is that correct, Joe? The tax?
The tax,
1% or 1 cent? What,
I believe it's 1%.
It is 1%.
It is 1%.
I know it is. I just want somebody to tell me that. Okay, and that's gonna generate how much in sales tax?
The 1% on food and beverage is anticipated to generate about $1 million a year once the full calendar year takes place. The packaged liquor piece is expected to add another $200,000 to that.
The 200,000 for what, packaged liquor?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Trustee Cook, do you want to
No.
speak? Oh, okay.
Separate vote, that's all.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Takaoka, trustee Hebda,
Aye.
trustee Schultz,
Aye.
trustee Markwart,
Aye.
trustee Cook,
No?
trustee Oppenheim.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. No, that's for the end of this, huh?
Unfinished.
Ooh, baby. Yeah. Okay, unfinished business, approve village board public hearing meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2008. Is there a motion to approve?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions, deletions, corrections? If not, roll call.
Trustee Hebda,
Aye.
trustee Schultz,
Aye.
trustee Markwart,
Aye.
trustee Cook,
Aye.
trustee Oppenheim,
Aye.
trustee Takaoka.
Motion carries. B, approval of village board meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2018.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions, deletions, et cetera. If none, roll call.
Trustee Schultz,
Aye.
trustee Markwart,
Aye.
trustee Cook,
Aye.
trustee Oppenheim,
Aye.
trustee Takaoka, trustee Hebda,
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item C. Okay, approval and passage of ordinance 2018-071, an ordinance adopting an annual budget for the Village of Vernon Hills for the fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2018 and ending April 30th, 2019. Want to comment on this one, Nikki?
Yes, thank you. Just a few quick summary comments. The ordinance before you this evening is a result of the budgets that were discussed on March 6th, March 13th, and March 21st. The budget's been available on the village's website and in the clerk's office since the end of February. The total expenditure budget that is before you today, excluding the golf course fund, is $31,370,670. Adding in the golf fund budget of $434,446, the total expenditures in the ordinance before you is $31,805,116. This does include, the budget does include a strategic use of reserves for one-time capital projects, which were discussed as part of the budget meetings. This includes police vehicle in-car camera systems, roof replacement at the Public Works facility, demolition of the Lashin Center, Aspen Drive and Route 60 engineering, Lakeview and Fairway intersection improvements, the road resurfacing program, replacement of the 911 phone system, and a placeholder for a School District 73 contribution. This budget also proposes a one-year break in the contributions for the Equipment Replacement Fund, and also includes legally required TIF contributions to the Town Center TIF District and the Melody Farm TIF District. And as a reminder to the board and everyone at home, those contributions are required because the village does not levy a property tax. And as mentioned earlier, this budget also includes the recommendation to implement a home rule food and beverage tax and packaged liquor tax. We anticipate that this tax would be implemented on September 1st and apply to restaurants, groceries, convenience stores, entertainment uses, golf courses, and bowling alleys where food is prepared for on-premise consumption or packaged liquor is sold. The adjustments made to the budget occurred largely at the March 13th board meeting, where there were several changes to the social service grant program and also to the police department's social service grant to Omni. And ordinance 2018-071 is recommended for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
What's the bottom line? 31,800,000 what?
$31,805,116, and that includes the golf course.
805,516. Okay, is there a motion to approve the budget of 31,805,516?
So made.
Second.
Motion and a second. Comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustee Markwart.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka. Trustee Hebda.
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, one thing I want to point out, germane to item, was it C?
C.
C. Motion, number C was approval and passage of ordinance adjusting current wages of certain non-union positions of the Village of Vernon Hills. This ordinance authorized an update to the village salary plan to include 2.5% salary raise increase for non-union employees for the fiscal year 2018-19. Okay, any comments or questions on that one? If not, what's next? Any new business to come before the board? Or?
Yeah, we got lots.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we do. All right. Approval and passage of ordinance 2018-062, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the Village of Vernon Hills, creating Chapter 5, Small Wireless Facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can give the board a brief summary of what that's about, if that's okay. I do have a small piece of what I think could be good news as part of this summary. As the board is aware, the state's been considering SB 1451, which is known as the Small Wireless Facilities Deployment Act. That act establishes small cell sites as a permitted use in the village's right-of-way, and it preempts home rule municipalities. We couldn't say no. The IML did get involved and negotiated some language that to a certain extent would allow us to control things such as height, the size of the equipment on the pole, and those kinds of things. It was passed by the House and Senate several months ago, and late last week, the governor signed the bill, signed the act, and will become effective on June 1st. As we also discussed, these allowances that the IML negotiated into the act that allows us to regulate certain things, we need to pass an ordinance to give us the authority to do so, and that's the ordinance that's before you tonight. As I said earlier, there finally is a little bit of good news that I can share with you. Within the recent past, an amendment was introduced in the House. It's HB 1187, and it would exempt municipalities from having to follow the requirements of 1451 if they have an ordinance in place prior to the effective date, which again is June 1st. So the ordinance that's in front of you right now, well, it does a few things. First of all, it prohibits these small cell sites in residential neighborhoods unless otherwise approved by the village board. So any small cell site that was proposed in a residential neighborhood, the board would have an opportunity to weigh in on. It would still permit them in the rights-of-way of a commercial district, and this would have the effect of creating, encouraging them to locate these in a commercial zone district, which is where I think they belong. We've also included language that's consistent with the past that cell sites, whether they're big or small, if they're located on private property or publicly owned property, they too would have to come to the village board for approval. So that's the ordinance that's before you tonight. And again, we're just taking advantage of this little window between now and June 1st to get the ordinance in place. So if HB 1187 passes, we would qualify for the exemption and we could more closely regulate their
Well,
installation.
if.
Yeah.
So
And
who's sponsoring that?
I don't have information on the sponsor. We just became aware of this last week, right around the time when SB 1451 was signed. But I can get that information for you. If HB 1187 ultimately doesn't pass and come into law, then we wouldn't have any choice. We'd have to come back to the board and amend that provision that prohibits them in a residential district, because we wouldn't be in compliance with the Deployment Act, SB 1451. But at least we're still in
How
play.
is this going to affect existing structures and the revenue charged and given back to us or to schools or private individuals for that matter?
It has no impact on cell sites, whether big or large, that are located on private property or publicly owned property, i.e. the village's cell sites, the high school's cell site as well. It only applies to small cell sites located in a public right-of-way. So the ordinance, again,
I mean, could we put some kind of a fee on these?
we do have a fee. We do have fees in there for just the ones in the right of way, and we kept that consistent with what was in the act. We could certainly discuss that further if the board wishes. And then, of course, anything that's located on the village's property or on private or publicly owned property, those are private leases. The act has no impact on how those leases are
But,
negotiated.
so let me get this straight. Obviously, we have the right of way, from the sidewalk, to the street. So they're going to use our light poles.
They could, or we could, if we didn't want to allow them on a decorative light pole, we could say, hey, we want you to
Right.
put an
on a
independent pole.
shoebox.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and we're going to charge a fee for that?
We can, yes, and we do have that in the ordinance.
Okay, and so whoever the cell phone entity is going to pay us.
Would pay us, that's
So
correct.
what can we set on these?
For the fees would be, it depends if they batch them or not. We could.
Be what?
We could charge a one-time fee of up to $1,000, and that's what's in the ordinance, per cell site. If they batch them and they come in with requests of more than 25, then the price would go down to $300 per cell site, but it would be a batch of 25. And that language is in the ordinance. It would be an amendment to Chapter 25.
And where do we get this language from?
It's consistent with the language that was put in the Deployment Act.
Okay. Anybody,
So-
comments or questions on that one?
The main thing, though, is that these then feed the big towers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so the big towers need to stay so that the revenue streams that people are counting on from the big towers will remain in place.
That's a good point, Trustee Schultz. The big towers adequately provide coverage for our community. There's really no need for any more of them. The real demand is for data. With the new devices and the demand for higher levels of data, these small cell sites are positioned to serve the larger cell sites. When demand is high and their data capacity is running low, the large cell sites can communicate with the small cell sites so this service can be provided and they can keep up with demand. So it does have the effect of, for residents and businesses in our community, these small cell sites, as technology evolves, will have the effect of them being able to have adequate service for their electronics.
What was it, Verizon was in here looking for their beta unit, whatever, on Hawthorne Parkway across from Hawthorne Elementary or Hawthorne Middle School, I guess. Did that ever go anywhere? Did that get installed, or they?
That hasn't been
permit?
It hasn't been installed. Verizon's decided to just wait, and once the SB 1451 started getting momentum at the state level, they decided to just wait and see how that played out. I would expect they'll be back before us now that the act has been passed and becomes effective on June 1st.
Will they install any of this equipment, the new stuff, on private property?
If they did, it would require board approval. And in some cases, that might be not so bad, or even publicly owned property. In the case of like maybe Greg's Landing, maybe the golf course has an inconspicuous location. Same thing with Deer Path. Maybe the park behind Deer Path, we can find a more inconspicuous location rather than right in the front yard of, right in the right of way, in front of someone's house.
Okay.
So if the board
Motion to
concurs with
approve
staff's recommendation.
Ordinance 2018-062.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further comments or questions? If not, roll call.
Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka. Trustee Hebda.
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Trustee Markwart.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, it appears that the bill was originally introduced by the speaker.
Really? I mean, Mike?
His
Wow.
honor himself, yes.
Oh, okay, well, he's probably got a chance then. Okay. Is there any other business to come before the board? Trustee Schultz?
Just a quick thing, I got a note here on my phone. Barbara Bush just passed away. May God rest her soul.
Yeah, God rest
92.
her soul. All right. Trustee Cook?
At our last meeting, somebody brought up the concerns about school safety and that, and I just wanted to make note of the fact that at that time I mentioned that we were, that the school districts here continue to upgrade and practice and discuss it. And in fact, this Thursday, Hawthorne District 73 has a half-day teacher institute, and our school resource officer, correct, Chief Detective Brett, is going to be making a presentation to all of the faculty at District 73 about changes in the safety protocols and the things that the police department is doing to make sure that we're up, fully current with everything that's best practices and best protocols. So they're doing that as part of their most recent half-day institute, which will be this Thursday.
Good. Okay, any other business? Do we need to go into closed session?
We do, although it may make sense to do that after you do the county.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we will be going into closed session to discuss, not personnel, it's legal services?
Legal services, pending litigation, and, and personnel issues, yes.
Okay. All right. Then we're not going to come out and conduct any other business. So is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting?
Second?
Roll call.
Trustee Takaoka. Trustee Hebda.
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Trustee Markwart.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. Number one, approve of committee of the whole meeting minutes of April 3rd, 2018.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions, deletions, corrections? If not, roll call.
Trustee Hebda.
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Trustee Markwart.
Aye.
Trustee Cook.
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim.
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka.
Motion carries. Route 45 to Route 60 to Route 22, capacity enhancement, as in the widening of Route 45 for what, 5 miles?
4 point.
Oh, we have IDOT people?
We do. We 4.2 miles, and they'll introduce themselves. But yeah, we have 2 guests from IDOT that
Yeah.
will help provide an update for the Route 45 capacity project.
Yeah,
they'll
you
tell-
guys, just identify yourselves for the record, please.
And really what the purpose of this is, it's more of an informational update where they're at in terms of phase 1, phase 2. You may have some specific questions included in your packet. There's really a form that was shared that outlined some of the individual elements of the project. And with that, we'll go through and you may have some questions. I may lead some questions, but basically it's, they're available to answer some of the questions and provide an update. So,
Yeah, okay, so, but I just want to go on record, this is nothing to get sparky about yet, right?
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay, I just want to get, how's your partner feel?
I'm feeling just fine.
Will you want to identify yourselves, please?
My name is Long Tran. Good evening,
What's
everyone.
your last name?
My name is Long Tran, and this is my colleague, Craig Bauer.
Can you state your name on your own?
Craig Bauer, I'm the project engineer.
Okay, and you're with IDOT?
Yes, we are both with IDOT, and we are here at the request of Mr. Dave Brown to discuss the Illinois 45, or US 45 improvement.
Well, welcome, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Well, the improvement consists of widening and reconstructing US 45 from Illinois 6083 all the way down to Illinois 2122. It's about, I don't know, 5.5, 6 miles.
But 4.2 in town, according to Dave.
Going through Vernon Hills, yes, probably. So
Yeah.
it will be reconstructed to from a one-lane travel lane in each direction to 2 travel lanes in each direction, separated by a median. There will also be improvement to various intersections throughout the corridor, drainage improvement, bicyclist and pedestrian accommodations, traffic signal upgrade, drainage improvement, and aesthetic landscaping. So in a nutshell, that's the improvement of the roadway. You know, hopefully we're here to convey some information to the board so that, you know, you can make an informed decisions on a letter of intent that we sent to the village approximately a couple years ago.
Oh, gracias. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Didn't we respond?
Not that I recall, no.
Not yet.
No, not yet, correct. So.
Well, that's changing for you.
Currently, the Phase 2 engineering, that portion is funded. But unfortunately, the Phase 3 construction money is currently not funded in our highway improvement program. However, it is included as a priority for funding, you know, along with other major corridor.
Did we get federal funds?
Yes.
What percentage do you think they would be?
80%. 80% will be covered, and then 20% will be, the remaining 20 will be the state's coverage.
Okay.
And then there will be cost participation with the village.
Right, well, yeah, I know.
You know, among the items that it's in the packet that you have.
Okay. All right.
Total cost of the project is approximately 72 million.
5 years from now?
That sounds about right, yes.
Maybe more.
Yeah, I'd add about 1.5% per year, yes, for inflation. Did I miss anything? You're on.
Land acquisition is estimated to be around 25 million. We have not started the land acquisition for any of the parcels yet due to we don't have funding for the construction yet. So once construction is funded, then land acquisition will follow.
So where's the land that you have to acquire?
Throughout the corridor, throughout the entire corridor. Because it's going from.
Even everything through Vernon Hills?
Oh, yeah. Vernon Hills, Mundelein.
No.
Lincolnshire.
An awful lot of Vernon Hills is already acquired.
So, specifically, this board has done a good job in terms of the development process and requiring right-of-way. So I think a lot of it through Vernon Hills is solid. Some of this is construction easements, temporary construction easements, but there are some areas outside of Vernon Hills. There's also at the intersection, Half-Day Inn intersection, Milwaukee Avenue and 45, the southwest corner, there's substantial improvements that we wouldn't have had the foresight to condemn that property, et cetera, prematurely. So that's going to be a big ticket item in terms of right-of-way acquisition within our village.
Yeah. Okay.
And that number
But
is,
we're pretty covered from,
Yeah, from Butterfield to 21, pretty much.
well, not, but, well,
Well,
yeah,
this is
yeah,
back-
yeah, I agree with that.
yeah.
But you still got Indian Wood in there,
Yeah, Indian Creek, yeah.
Indian Creek.
But everything else east of the tracks, we're pretty well covered.
Yeah. But I understand.
I mean, typically, US 45, you have the roadway. The state has existing right-of-way for US 45, and because we're widening the 2 lanes in the center median, we might have to purchase another 10, 15 feet on this side, another 15, 20 feet on this side.
No, what we're talking about is the fact that all of the development east of here, all the way to Half Day, has already added, what was, most of them 50 to 75 feet.
Oh, do
right?
we got a map to share with these guys? We must.
they have the information, it's just not right in front of them right now.
Yeah,
But
okay.
certainly, it's all on the plan sets that they've shared and communicated with us. There are some right-of-way requests that, at the time, we supplied, but then when they get into more design detail, they find out maybe I
might
need
need more.
another 5 feet
Yeah.
or 10 feet. So those things
Yeah.
come up as part
How
of
long
the
have you guys
design
worked for
process.
IDOT?
Myself be 19 years this June.
And I've been there 17 years.
Well, we've been working on this for about 35.
No way.
So between the two of you, maybe you got as much time as we do on this.
I
That's going
found
back
a
to
letter
94 with the annexation of.
I found a letter from Mayor Williams in the 1980s that there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a request for widenings, to
Oh,
your
yeah.
point.
Yeah, okay, well, all right. Well, you want to talk a lot, or do you want to just,
I mean, everything that was given to, the letter of intent has participating items. They range from anything from traffic signals, a shared use path, sidewalk, temporary lighting, or roadway lighting. And, without wasting much of your time unless you have specific questions, it's all in the letter, and we're happy to answer any questions. Even if you don't have any questions right now, you can coordinate with Dave, and we can always get back to you.
Sure, and if I.
Pretty sure Dave has questions.
Sure, so, before I hit on those specific items, can you help us in terms of like potential detours for the project?
Yeah. For the project, we are looking to propose 5 detours. One is right here on Evergreen. The other one is right next door on Oakwood. The third will be Deer Path. The fourth will be way east on Ranny. And the fifth will be Port Clinton Road. It's because that we have grade changes, at the intersections and limited right-of-way where we cannot have vehicles going in and out in both directions. We would have to propose a one-way detour at those intersections, either.
why don't you blow it through Corporate Woods? They got 2 entrances. No, seriously, can you do that? You know where those entrances are?
Corporate Woods.
There's 2.
Yeah, that goes. It's a horseshoe around.
Well, no, there's 2 separate entrances and exits.
Okay.
It puts the traffic out on Milwaukee.
Well, we can certainly take a look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to have, Van Vlissingen be involved.
Okay.
That would be certainly better than a residential.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
So, and helping with the detour, when it's Route 45 itself, they'll maintain traffic on Route 45. Some of it is the
Right.
actual connection off a Deer Path that you're raising
Yeah.
the roadway, so there'll be some temporary detours because of that.
Yeah, but you could you writing this one down about blowing it through Corporate Woods?
We can take a look.
You could use my terminology verbatim.
These proposed detours will not last the duration of the project.
No, I understand.
It's just as
For the time frame.
when we build that particular intersection, it's going to take us maybe 8, 10 weeks as we can
Well,
do
what
half
is
and
this?
half and
Is this a 2-year plus project
most
Most
definitely.
likely, yes.
or more?
It's about 2.5.
2.5 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well,
And if I can get into the details, really there's 6 major line items. Some of these, as part of the Phase 1 process and design approvals, we looked at sidewalks and bike paths. And what the board had directed IDOT is we wanted at least a sidewalk or a bike path paralleling both sides of the roadway, so they've included that. So, you know,
Yeah.
they've done well in terms of that. Our local cost is, you know, 120,000 roughly for all of those improvements. We would continue to
Does that
talk to.
include going through Green Oaks too, picking up their tab?
So, picking up on that, the Village of Indian Creek, we will continue to encourage them that.
Wrong town, wrong town.
I knew what you
Indian
meant.
Creek, I'm sorry.
I knew what
It's been a long day.
In fact, their mayor contacted me today and said, could I provide him with an update? One of the things that we will be updating him is the Village of Vernon Hills continually would like him to add sidewalks throughout his village. We'd like to encourage him to do that. So right now, they may grade off the sidewalk area, but not put in sidewalks. So we want to continue discussions with them, and I think IDOT would also continue those discussions. So in terms of sidewalks and bike paths, I think we're doing real well. There's another line item for emergency preemptive, the Opticom for emergency services. Right now, that is 100% village cost. Whether we want to include the fire district to help finance that or not, you can give me some feedback on it. If I don't hear that you want the fire districts to pay for some of the Opticom maintenance and installation, the village would absorb that. You know, that's $55,000. The traffic signals, there's a number of traffic signals along here that need to be updated. We would pay our fair share on that. The largest one, and we'll look into it a little bit closer, is at the Metro station. That one's substantially more than the other ones. That one's, we're paying for 100% of the maintenance and operation costs. So that one is the lion's share of this $550,000. Temporary lighting and roadway lighting are the larger discussions. The roadway lighting is 1.8 million of the 2.6 million. What we would include in the letter to IDOT is similar to what Mundelein said. Although there are intersection lighting right now, if the project's being widened, we think that it should be a cost of the project and not for the locality. IDOT is going to say, no, it's the municipality, but we'd like to look at the statutes and see really who should be paying for that. But that's 1.8 million out of the 2.6 million. That's a large thing to think through. We had the temporary lighting discussion as part of the Melody Farm project. It's very expensive. We decided not to move forward with that one. I don't see that the village would participate in temporary lighting up and down Route 45.
No.
I don't think there's a lot of benefit for that.
No.
That's really the larger one that we wanted to share with you. The other ones are pretty straightforward. They did a great job in terms of some of the medians going down Route 45 where it could be grassed medians, landscape medians. The board had directed before that they wanted that. They've included that in the plan too. So those are some of the larger points. There's no action needed by the board right now. We wanted to bring this to your attention so we can put together this letter of intent, work with our attorney on that, and send something off to IDOT. But if you had any more questions, they're certainly here.
Is there a drop dead date for getting this letter?
We prefer it as soon as possible, but if you need time to discuss among
We
the
feel the same
members
way
and
about the
internal.
board meeting.
Well, we feel
we've
Yeah,
widening
yeah.
45.
I understand, I understand.
They've been patient, and if we got it to them in the next 60 days, that would be a good thing.
Okay.
All right.
I'm hoping it'll take a lot fewer years than I've heard about 53, so.
How challenging will it be with the railroad tracks to do your work?
It would be challenging, and to do the railroad track, the railroad, what they do is they shut down 45. Yeah, for 2 weeks, and they would just detour 45. They just do the work. They come in for 2 weeks, they knock it out, and then they open up again.
We've had that done.
We've had
Yeah.
it done before. but-
They have to widen the road, put new gates down,
Right.
interconnect it. That's what the 2 weeks is for. Then they open it back up. That's for any railroad that,
Every time they do an at-grade crossing repair, traffic like is out of control.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Nope.
And since we
Oh.
don't have horns there, we've got those
Dilapidators.
those markers, I assume.
Is that, what
those
are they,
will-
dilapidators or
will
something,
those
or?
come back, Dave, or what will they do to make,
So as part of the project, those go away. Those are there so people don't drive around the
Right.
gates, and so they would have raised concrete medians there, and that's an acceptable measure to keep the quiet zone in place.
good, okay, that'd be better.
Delineators?
Delineators.
Yeah.
Very good.
Indian woods, you know.
Close.
I do want to bring up just one other point. Any village utilities such as water main that's within the IDOT right-of-way, if it's impacted, that'd be something that the village would have to relocate.
Lake County.
It's Lake County's water.
Or if it's Lake County, or any village utility, whether it's sanitary or whatever. I see some fire hydrants, so that's why I mentioned it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if it's Lake County, it's Lake County.
Yeah.
But in general, we have not identified what those conflicts are. We probably will in the next 3 to 4 months after we
Who's
get.
your engineering? I mean, who's doing the engineering for you guys now?
Stanley Consulting. Stanley? Stanley. yeah.
Stanley.
Yep.
Stanley, yes.
All right.
So, but anyway, I just want to bring that to your attention. We have not identified, but, I mean, that's not identified in the cost here because we just don't know yet, but that is just something to keep back of your head, that may be something, but if you don't have any, then it should not be an issue for you.
One
Dave,
last
that doesn't impact us because all our sewer and water is Lake County, correct?
Absolutely. And for street lighting, we really don't have street lighting into the state right-of-way. It's on the local roadways, so we should be sitting very good. Storm sewers, they have storm sewers in their right-of-way, we have storm sewers in ours, so I don't see a lot of concerns with that. Last question I have is, for the Phase 2 process, do you have a target date that it would be completed by?
Right now, we have a scheduled letting date in the books that's called for a June of 19 letting. So
19 what?
June of 2019 letting.
Bid letting.
So letting means that it's going to be going out to bids for the contractor.
gotcha.
But most likely it will slide because, you know.
Land Act takes at least 12 to 18 months, and we haven't even started it. So the clock starts when land acquisition starts. So just giving you a little bit of a time frame.
There's money for that?
I believe we have 3.5 million funded, up to, it's 25 million for all right-of-way. We have like 3.5 million. So it's only partially funded.
Like
and
seed money,
It's very slow seed money, correct.
Oh, boy.
So to answer your question, Dave, I mean, there's not really a hard date that, you know,
You think 12 months or?
I think it's going to be longer than that.
So, and the reason I'm asking really for residents who may be buying up and down the corridor, people call us all the time. I hear Route 45 is going to be widened, and what we tell them is it's not within the 5-year plan. You're working through the Phase 2 process. I suspect that the Phase 2 process is going to be every bit of another 12 months to 24 months, and then the construction's another 2.5 years. You got to acquire right-of-way, so I don't see this being completed in 5 years.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Okay. All right, any other questions for these gentlemen?
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right,
Thanks for
thanks
coming.
for your time.
Thank you.
Drive safely. Okay. All right. Next item is Goddard School. Concept presentation for a daycare expansion to be located at 471 Town Line Road.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Joe Carey.
Representatives from the Goddard School are here tonight to present their concept presentation for expansion of their daycare center, which will require an amendment to their special use. They're proposing to purchase the vacant American Charter Bank building to the north and construct a 900 square foot multi-purpose addition between the two buildings. They'll be utilizing the 4,900 square foot bank building for 3 classrooms, which allow for them to increase their enrollment up to 50 children. They'll be continuing to utilize the existing age groups of 6 weeks to 6 years of age. And for a point of information, the current enrollment is 134 children. Drop-off times are included in your packet and are consistent with what their current operations are. The petitioners are here to answer any questions, and if the committee of the whole feels the proposed daycare expansion is appropriate, the Goddard School should be directed to begin the technical review process with staff and appear before a Planning and Zoning Commission in a public hearing at a date to be determined.
Okay. So, does the petitioner owner want to step forward, please? And you want to identify yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Ellen Lay, I'm the owner of the Goddard School. And
I'm Mike Elliott, the architect working with Ellen on the expansion project.
Okay. So, do you want to ask us any questions?
you have the drawings. At this point, we just want to make sure that it's going to be acceptable to change the use of the bank and also to connect the two buildings to make one unit.
Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but, you know.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't mind a bank going away.
Now, does it,
Unless Huntington Bank comes, I want Huntington Bank in town.
who?
Huntington,
I've reached out to them again this week.
Huntington who?
Huntington Bank.
What, is it out of Monaco or
from
something?
another country.
Yes, they have a branch in Minocqua and a branch in downtown Boulder Junction,
Yeah.
and they have a branch
He's kidding, right?
in Buffalo Grove, and a branch in Grays Lake.
Well, I don't want another
I
bank
know, I'm
using it,
fine, I'm
you
great
know.
with the Goddard.
Yeah, let's, you know.
This is a great use.
Playground then because you're gonna add on to the building, I would assume.
Yes.
So. Will that be the existing one just expanded, or will you put it behind, where will your playground go?
The playground would be added behind where the gym is proposed.
Okay.
So all of the playgrounds will be behind all of the buildings. They won't be exposed to the public, really.
No. And the facade of the building will, how will that?
Well, right now, and actually, we had sent up a document that was a little more true as far as showing the brick colors, but both the buildings have a combination of brick and stone. So the link that would actually join the two, we're looking to probably use the stone of the two buildings to link that together.
That'd be good,
And Joe has that drawing, so at some point, maybe he could share it with you.
Yes, that was included in the package.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I'm just checking.
No problem.
So you don't need a motion on this,
No,
just,
Nope, just direction
Yeah.
to
Go ahead and
allow them
go
to
ahead.
move forward with the contract.
Forward, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Unless it's the Huntington.
does anybody else want to speak on your behalf?
No.
Okay. All right, well, so you're going to go right into technical review.
Correct.
Great.
Okay,
Thank
no speech tonight?
This is a concept presentation, so it's non-binding on behalf of the village board. So let's go through the public hearing process before the Planning and Zoning Commission, who will provide a non-binding recommendation to the village board for their approval.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes.
It looks like on the satellite view, there's parking in between the two buildings currently where this is going to be. So is there enough parking in
There
the,
is.
in the main lots?
There is. So we'll lose, I think it's 16 parking spaces on the north side of the school, and we're picking up more than that for the front of the bank. I've just been monitoring the parking and the availability. We have drop-off from 7 until about 9:30 in the morning, and then typically 3:30 until 7 or 6 in the evening. And all of our teachers currently park along the north side of the school, and there's more than enough parking in the front spaces that the bank currently
North
has.
of the bank, okay.
Yeah, so we're pretty good. We don't the drop-off is staggered, so there's no stacking. The parents bring the children in. So we don't have a lineup of cars for the drop-off.
How many students do you have right now?
Right now, we have 155 students, but some are part-time, some are full.
And would that increase at all?
Well, we would have, it goes by full-time equivalents. So currently, it's 134 to 138 FTEs, and we'll go to 188. So several of our families have 2 children, so the number of families dropping off won't increase by 50. It'll be probably a third or 2/3 of that.
Okay.
All right?
Dave Brown.
And if I can just add, if you could look into it, check your emergency overflow routes in terms of where the drainage goes through. Is this building blocking it? And I'm sure you'll look into if there's any utilities that you're building over.
Actually, at this early stage, we started to look at that, and the way the building is kind of offset with the multi-purpose room to the one right-hand side nearest the bank actually allows a clean corridor to maintain those utilities with minimal bridging at all if we have to do that as we go through. But most of the utilities, we've actually, with the placement, been able to avoid any conflicts with those.
Okay, I'm glad you looked into that. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're already in town, so you're still welcome. All right, next we got Bobo's, right? Motorsports Incorporated with Bobo's Restaurant for approval of 4 outdoor special events at 280 Hawthorne Village Commons. And you are?
I'm Steve Haworka, the owner of BGV Motorsports.
Yeah.
So
what are you going to do there?
we're gonna do a car show and a few cruise nights, you know,
We did
raise some
that
funds for.
before.
Yep,
This is-
we did it last year.
Yeah.
We run the Hills cruise nights too, so, and summer celebrations, car shows, so.
Yeah.
We've done this.
Where you at? Where you guys at?
We're based, run our business out of our home, and we live unfortunately in Mundelein.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, well, in essence, ooh, nice political statement there.
My kid lives there, and I haven't disowned him, so.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, which lot did they use?
They used the lot in front of Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
Well, we won't be in front of Hobby Lobby. We will be, everything
the
right in
back?
front of, we'll be right in front of Bobo's, the hair salon, everything to the
Yeah.
drive-through.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Any-
if the board, what staff is looking for is a direction to prepare a resolution approving the 4 events subject to the conditions that are outlined in your packet.
Motion so made.
Second.
Motion is second, roll call.
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka? Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Have a great
you.
night.
Hey, you would notice though, who's the business next to the shoe store in Mundelein? Rogan's? They had a real, it's like almost like a car museum.
Yeah,
But they-
I can't think of the name of it, but it's a guy who sells classic cars.
Did they move?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I thought I read something in the paper about it. It's-
He's planning on doing his own car show sometime in May. so-
Oh, okay.
And before you go, can you mention again, just for the benefit, what the proceeds will go to? Because that's one of the reasons I like this.
We're going to be raising funds for the Police Department Scholarship Fund, the Jesse Goldsmith.
Yeah, the Jesse
Scholarship Fund.
Goldsmith Memorial
Oh, okay.
Scholarship Fund. And that's a great thing to be raising money for, so thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, take care. All right, next is, got to go into closed session for litigation, personnel. What else? Is he awake?
Yeah.
For what else? Not land
Personnel.
acquisition.
Pending personnel,
Yeah,
pending litigation,
okay, that's it.
and the selection council.
Okay. So that's the personnel too, within reason. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn committee of the whole?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka? Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markward?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you and good night. We will not be back out to take action on anything else. Amen.
Yeah. Yep.
Judge Hall.